She might be able to teach other people to draw, but not me. I can't even draw a straight line.
Most people believe that they can't draw. And what I want to teach you is, yes, you can draw. And we're going to just take an hour together, and at the end of that hour, you're going to have the information and a change in the way that you think about yourself that you need to become an artist. So first of all, let me give you a little overview of what's going to happen in this hour, and then we'll go through each step one at a time. What I've made here is a sort of a memory map that goes through our course. The first thing is a pre-drawing. And you've already made a drawing of the best you can do to draw a face, which for most people is kind of embarrassing. You might have it hidden somewhere at this very moment. But somehow you've drawn a little face, and you've put in the eyes, and you've kind of wondered how to draw a nose, but somehow sketched that in, and a mouth, and a neck, maybe some ears. You might have even enjoyed drawing hair. So you got a face. Now, what we're going to do is learn how you can take that image, whatever it is that you now draw, and make it into a portrait that looks like it was drawn by an artist, by the artist within you. The next thing we're going to do is look at your beliefs, because what you believe about your ability can be extremely limiting. So beliefs can become almost like blinders, where all you see is the no, I can't. So I want to talk to you about those and help you shift that belief. Just pretending like you're able to draw, if nothing else. Then I'm going to give you some information about the proportions of the human face, because we have tendencies to believe things that are inaccurate about the face. So I'll give you information that would appeal to the left hemisphere of your brain that likes numbers and logic. We're going to look at with very specific details, not talking about proportions and numbers now, but exactly what do you see when you look at an eye, at a specific person's eye, because all those little variations in the face is what makes each one of us unique and what makes your portrait look like the person you want it to look like. We're going to talk about shadow and the shape of shadows. This little skeleton represents the fact that we're going to look at a skull and realize how the bone structure of the skull influences the way a face looks and influences those shadows and the shapes of those shadows. We're going to take a look at your ability to use a pencil the way an artist does. When I was in school, I was handed a pencil and told, don't smear, and if I erased too many times, I made a hole in the paper. But as an artist, you want to sometimes smear the pencil. You can press down and get darker tones. You can get lighter tones. So we'll learn a couple sort of tricks of the trade that an artist uses in getting variation from a pencil, including using the eraser to add highlights. Also, I want to sort of free you up to realize that you can draw with your whole arm, not just with your hand and your wrist held very tightly, making these little lines that people sometimes make, little tentative lines they make when they're nervous, but the free kind of movement that you would notice an artist using when they draw. Next, we're going to try it. You'll have a chance to make your first portrait. You'll have lots of information, and you'll see me draw the portrait first, and I'll talk you through it. And then we're going to review. We're going to look back and think about what you've learned. Watching the videotape more than once is a good opportunity to review as well, so you'll have that available to you. So that summarizes what we're going to be doing today. Well, we now have the big picture, the overview. However, your belief in your ability to draw may still be in question. In that case, you have a couple of choices. You can go to the guidebook and do the beliefs exercises that you'll find there, or watch the next segment of the video. Now, I'm just going to guess what might be happening is that when you do your drawing, your first drawing, you're going to sit there with your arm around it, almost wanting to hide it, feeling embarrassed, like, I hope nobody comes in and sees that I did this. You know, if they do, I'll claim that it was sent to me by my niece or nephew. Because people really do feel embarrassed and uncomfortable, almost as if they've been thrown back to the age of 8 or 9 when they first became uncomfortable with drawing. But another way you can look at this is that before you were 8 or 9, when you still were pretty free about your ability to draw, think of little children, how they'll draw a big face and show it to you so proudly. And even if you don't recognize it and say, gee, that's nice, what's that? You know, they say, that's Mommy or whatever. They feel very free to represent ideas on paper. That's where we want to be. We want to have that freedom. If you think about a little baby that's learning how to walk, first of all, they're just crawling along. And all of a sudden, they pull themselves up maybe on the edge of the table, and they take a few tentative steps, and they fall down. But of course, what they do is they get right back up and pull themselves up and take a couple more steps. And even if they fall again, they don't just suddenly sit there and say, well, I'm not a walker. I must be a crawler. My brother's a walker. He walks everywhere. I'll crawl. They don't give up. They continue trying to walk, and eventually they learn. It's the same with reading. Imagine if you were in class and you hadn't learned to read yet, and your teacher said, well, good morning, students. Here's an encyclopedia for you and some pamphlets, and here's some magazines, and here's several different books. Now, you just start reading, and we'll see who has talent. Oh, look, you sounded out a few words, Carlos. Must be a natural reader. Now, of course, we know that people learn to read. So it's a little easier, certainly, for some than others, but people learn to read by getting the information they need, by practicing, and by believing that eventually they'll read. Another thing that can happen to people is that they believe this myth. Now, this is such an all-pervasive myth that you may think it's a fact, but the myth is that everybody's born with a certain amount of talent. Before you're born, somebody pours in a certain amount of artistic talent. You didn't get it. Your cousin got it. Your mother got it. The kid sitting next to you in art class had it, but you didn't. Now, if you believe that you have a limited amount of talent, that belief can limit your talent. So what I want to tell you is if you have enough eyesight to see the face that you want to draw, and if you have enough dexterity to hold a pencil and print words or write words, you've got the vision, you've got the hand. We just want to connect your eye and your hand so they can move together for drawing. So I'd like you to pretend for the next hour that you can draw. You might need some new information. You might need to brush up a little, as they say in the art world, or practice a little bit more, but you can draw.